let's talk about the obviously the Ukrainian situation. Obviously, what's going on the other side of the world. Have you talked to the Ukrainian community in Brampton, and what are they saying?
Yeah, it's horrifying. I spoke to Father Roman yesterday, who is the head of the Ukrainian Church, St. Elias in Brampton. His daughter is the Canadian ambassador, actually. So there's lots of family connections with Ukraine. We've got this dynamic Ukrainian community in Canada that has contributed to our country's success, and yeah, it's just not something that was even thought possible that you'd see a country invade another peaceful democratic nation. It'd be akin to seeing something like this happen in North America. Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. He's a thug, and he's becoming an international pariah. And my heart goes out to the Ukrainian community, and I hope that Canada can use the tools that we have at our disposal to be a strong ally and a friend to Ukraine. And we may not have the largest military in the world, but I hope the tools in which we can help, we are. We should be banning assets and freezing assets for Russian oligarchs. We should be banning Russian oil. We still export an enormous amount of Russian oil. We should not be wealth generators for this dictatorship in Russia. This aggression is unfathomable and against the principles that we expect the world to follow. This is not something that we've seen happen in Europe since the Second World War.
True. I think they're getting rid of, they're talking about getting rid of Russian vodka and LCBOs right now too. I'm going to change gears a little bit here. I'm going to frame this a little differently because you get this asked a million times. When you become Prime Minister, will you still have a chat with me every month?
Well, I'm proud to be the mayor of Brampton, and I enjoy my Friday chats with you.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess what I was getting at is this morning I heard you say that you were considering running for the leadership of the Conservative Party, the Federal Conservative Party. Any more on that?
So as I mentioned to you before, I am getting a lot of phone calls, individuals encouraging me to take a look at this. I have been a lifelong member of the Conservative family. I've been elected federally 3 times, provincially, served as leader of the opposition. And so obviously I take an interest in the Conservative movement. After the 2019 losing election, I wrote an op-ed with advice for the party, how to avoid making the same mistakes again. And I gave the example of Bill Davis as a model that should be followed in terms of his pragmatism and his decency and the way he built a big tent. But, I certainly can't commit to a race that I don't know the rules or the timeline to. And so, I know there's a lot of speculation right now, but I still feel it's premature when you don't have those type of rules. But I would say I think it's important for Canada's democracy to have a competitive Conservative Party so that we can have an election where it's not where you don't have one party sweep suburban Canada.
Cool. Let's talk about the incredible flood that we saw last week in Brampton in the Churchville area. Are there any estimates in regards to the damages that were caused in Brampton?
So they haven't finished with estimates. It could be significant. It depends on whether the bridge over the Credit River is damaged, and if that bridge is damaged, you could see estimates on the municipal, cost estimates could be in excess of $15 million. In terms of the damage to homes and what won't be covered by insurance, I imagine that will be a hefty bill as well. We do have provincial officials that are looking at it. They were in town on Thursday to see whether we meet their disaster recovery requirements. I've spoken to the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs about this, telling them we're going to need their help. Insurance isn't going to cover the recovery costs for these 100 homeowners who have had their homes devastated. And so, I do hope that we get that assistance. We've seen other natural disasters in Ontario where the province stepped in to help with what insurance wouldn't cover.
Is there anything going to be done in the area in regards to preventing this in the future?
Well, this is on a floodplain, and some of these homes have been there, 150 years. The Credit Valley Conservation Authority, Public Works, the Region Appeal is looking at what type of mitigation efforts, could be used in the future. Engineers are looking at it right now. We don't have recommendations yet, but we are looking at, how we can protect this floodplain.
Okay. We got a user here. When can Brampton Transit riders expect service to be completely restored on all routes?
So I'm hopeful soon. The one exception being routes that are connected with other municipalities, because obviously that takes a joint agreement. But I'm hopeful that we're moving to put COVID-19 in the rearview mirror, that our staffing levels are now pretty strong, and that we can have all our routes back. And further, I'd like to see our routes expanded. We have the fastest growing transit system in the country, and a fast growing transit system needs to expand its reach.
Here's a weird one. A city councilor in Hamilton said this week that you told her that you will not fire municipal employees who fail to verify their COVID-19 vaccination status. Is this true?
Yeah, so Brampton, Mississauga, and the Region Appeal did take that approach, that no one lost their job over their vaccination status. And I have to say, kudos to our employees. We took a collaborative approach. Some municipalities fired employees based on their vaccination status. We actually had vaccination rates that were superior to other municipalities, despite the fact we didn't use that threat. So I want to thank ATU, I want to thank CUPE, I want to thank the Brampton professional firefighters, the Peel police, the paramedics. They stepped up, they got vaccinated, they protected their community, and we didn't have to resort to the type of aggressive tactics that have been used elsewhere.
Okay. There are reports that the city has let go of a number of staffers after David Barrick was fired. Is there a city staffing issue?
I don't believe so. There's naturally going to be some, a CEO will come in with their core team, and sometimes there is a change. Harry Schlang, the previous CEO, went back to Niagara, where he's from, and a number of the members of his leadership team went with him. He had one person who was working for him from Nova Scotia, and that individual, I believe, went back to Nova Scotia. They might have even been working remotely, if I recall. And so that's natural. A CEO is going to want to have a team that he trusts and works with. And I know Paul Morrison is building that team, and I'd say he's done very well in his first few weeks on the job.
Awesome. And very last question. Ozark comes back on April 29th. How is Ozark going to end? Spoiler alert.
Another season of Ozark?
Yeah, April 29th.
Okay.
The second. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just saw the last. I'm behind. I just saw the last season.
So how do you think it's going to end?
I'm sure it'll end with there being another season.
No, this is the last season.
Okay.
Last 7 episodes. So anyways, okay, that's it. Okay, have a good weekend.
Okay. All the best.
All right, take care.